Weekly market outlook today, Sunday the 26th of January. Only a couple of trading days until the month is finally reaching its end, the first month of this year. But yeah, it has been an interesting one. Inauguration of Donald Trump, crypto markets moving higher. And finally, we shall examine if the US dollar is changing some direction, as well as obviously oil markets are moving somewhat, and silver and gold might offer some input in this case. So welcome back and stay tuned with our current update. Yeah, the markets kind of quite at interesting levels currently. Is the US dollar, let's start with that, losing some steam? Will the dollar move towards lower levels? The euro rising, the pound rising, the Australian dollar moving higher as we have an important interest rate decision looming. And that's the one from the US, 8 p.m. as usual, Central European time on Wednesday. The 29th will, be kind of quite important and interesting. Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, stated basically that we might see only 2 interest rate cuts this year. However, markets currently would rather opt for only 1 rate cut. So, might this tell us that the US dollar strength is due to continue? Well, potentially yes. If rates remain high for the dollar, if rates are being cut for the euro might weaken as the interest rate differential grows in favor of the greenback. Yet, let's look at the charts. We observe currently that the recent market sentiment here, resistance zone, resistance, and resistance here was broken to the upside. Plus, we saw in this charting pattern that basically as well the 50 moving average here, that area has been broken, and this might actually unleash further momentum, could cause the US dollar to weaken further. We might see the market running somehow higher, but we could also see that this zone is going to be retested again, depending on how the trend line situation goes here. And with that, we might say, and let's check out the longer term chart here. The weekly chart has given a substantial uptrend, and we call this a bullish engulfing candlestick. We had rising market momentum 2 weeks ago already. This was basically, this week, last week, say, if you're watching this on Monday, this video, but we've seen 1, 2, 3, say 4, 5 weeks in a row to lower levels, and now the market has been celebrating upside motivation and as well a strong bullish candlestick pattern here on the monthly chart. Problem being that this is not really a cool, interesting zone where this bullish attack had happened. Instead, the zone is somewhat interesting, but the question is kind of within the detail. So, how to trade this market right now? Any weaker market prices might offer upside motivation for this market to rise potentially higher, and hence any low entry opportunities might give us a better entry price, and then stop loss of a long-term charts we could just simply put below the recent all-time or this recent low price range, and hence obviously kind of opt for the upside should this occur even further. What else we have? We have also beforehand an important interest rate decision, and this one comes on Wednesday as well, but slightly earlier. Bank of Canada, and they are expected to cut rates by 25 basis points. Now, the market in terms of the Canadian dollar has been kind of quite important so far. The Canadian dollar had weakened substantially. The euro gearing up steam against the loonie, as it's called. The US dollar gearing up momentum against the Canadian dollar as well. And with that, we shall check out the charting pattern. We had last week here this week for this Sunday 26th, this strong pin bar candlestick pattern. However, the market was already breaking this high point here, and with a break of this upside momentum here, boom, boom, 2 times, 3, 4 times here. Now the upside momentum could lead towards, whoa, beautiful trend line, could lead to another push to the upside here. 150, 150, 151 odd area is the next resistance line in the sand here, and if this zone is being tested, we could see that upside momentum kind of really causes market motivation to be kind of quite positive here. Long-term charts, well, it doesn't really look like that there's any strength of the Canadian dollar. And now rate cut in the Canadian dollar or rate cut from the Bank of Canada might actually cause further weakness in the Canadian dollar, giving the euro some potential movement to the upside. Interestingly enough, the US dollar's weakening momentum at the moment can also be seen against the Canadian dollar. Hence, dollar CAD falling, but dollar CAD falling only slightly, whereas euro dollar rising sharply, pound US sharply up, and the Aussie was gearing up momentum against the greenback as well. So dollar weakness we could see in other currency pairs. Dollar weakness here against the Canadian dollar only slightly, telling us that there might be some downside momentum here. However, not in quite sharp manner yet. If we see maybe not a rate cut, maybe the Canadians wonder how is the story and the inflation story going with Donald Trump. Is there going to be more tariffs on the Canadian side being imposed by the designated US president? This could cause the Canadian central bank to say, hey, wait a minute, we stay on hold, we don't cut rates. And then we could factor here that, or we could focus on this currency pair, which could move somehow to the downside medium term, as the Canadian dollar might strengthen slightly as another rate cut has not happened. If it does, if it doesn't happen, which would give the Canadian dollar some competitive advantage again against the US dollar. So stay tuned with this one. That's going to be something interesting as well, looking ahead here next week. What else is up and running next week? We got an important interest rate decision as well on Thursday, and that's another one coming from the Eurozone. When looking at markets on Thursday afternoon, the European Central Bank is expected to cut rates again, and that's going to be seen on the economic calendar. We can observe this here, 3.15% down to 2.9% as in the main refinancing rate. So another rate cut could technically harm the euro. Well, we talked about the euro dollar moving currently higher, but this is going to be priced in already in markets. It's actually expected, and market participants expect the the European Central Bank to cut rates. So it's not a big news event anymore, but since most or quite a lot of global central banks are about to cut rates even further, this might actually not harm the euro as we observed recently. Euro dollar moving higher. The European common currency has still currently not a competitive, but some slight advantage. Obviously, if they cut rates, then the rate differential in the euro, comparing it to the greenback, to the dollar, will be in favor of the US. Euro cutting rates, the euro losing some interest rate momentum. The US dollar is not facing any further or not strong rate cuts as we examined. So stronger interest, higher interest in the dollar, lower interest in the euro naturally should cause the US dollar to gear up further momentum. But that's exactly how we observe then throughout the week, and check out how this market behavior goes and how this is going to impact any potential trading opportunity. Let's move on further. The pound has been gearing up momentum. This looks kind of quite interesting here. The market moving to the upside as well. So there is a beauty of a technical candlestick pattern, we would call this, and we could draw this trend line somehow even at that zone here. Let me mark it in this on the charts here. We have this white zone. The high point might be seen at around the 124 area. That's a strong support zone, and this pin bar candlestick basically on the monthly chart, if it holds towards the end of the month, and we have only a couple of trading days here this upcoming week. By the way, Chinese New Year is around the corner, so this could be something interesting here with upside momentum brewing. Upside, oops, that's the wrong charting pattern here. Nah, we want the upside here. The 50 moving average, if it's broken, shoom, we could see that the pound is continuing to gear up momentum here. Again, strong candlestick, 1-2 weeks of falling prices in the pound. This last or currently pushing the market to the upside In this case, momentum, positive momentum might be due to continue in the pound as well. And the Australian dollar, well, the stock market's moving higher. Not much, but still, they continue to move higher as well. The Aussie had been gearing up momentum again here. We are currently trading at an important support zone in the past. And this past support area here might not be a resistance area. So the market might actually still fade. And we shall see how next week goes. Any falling price momentum might change the entire market structure, as the Australian dollar is going to be a risk-on currency. If risk momentum with traders, investors stays positive, then obviously stock market's supposed to run higher. If it fades, and the S&P 500 is celebrating a kind of double chop here. The trend looks positive. The market has kind of celebrated 1, 2, potentially celebrating the third resistance point here. But there is still room to higher levels here in the S&P 500. There is also some room in the NASDAQ, but we found a bit of a lower high only. The market was not so far ready to break a new or create a new all-time high. And this could be some things, or could be one of the reasons why the markets might medium term, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but in the next couple of months starts to weaken further. Remember as well, it has been one of the best performing Januaries so far, not ever since, but since quite a long time. We see that January quite often faces profit taking in markets. This year so far not quite, so stay tuned for upside momentum of some sort. The oil market, kind of quite interesting. Drill, baby, drill is what Donald Trump or his team saying. Well, forget renewable energies, forget all that nonsense, according to the designated US president. But instead, he would opt for oil output to rise further. He would opt to increase oil output. And the oil price is seeing that oil markets have weakened again. There's not a clear pattern here in this market, but it's developing. It is developing. Monthly chart, resistance area, 1, 2, 3, 4 times not broken to the upside fairly recently. The market went to higher levels, but started to fade again off this resistance area here. 50 moving average, the market kind of started to fade off this zone here, with that if we, towards the end of the month, keep trading below this red color falling trend line, even maybe below this 50 moving average, we could see falling prices in oil markets as well somehow further. Last but not least, precious metals are kind of quite important. Let's start with gold prices, because the gold price has been running to the upside as well. We are close by another double chop formation. If gold runs higher, maybe fueled as well by dollar weakness at the moment, we could see that this market is going to kind of break the high point here. However, we could also see, let's focus on the weekly chart. At the moment, we are already above this zone here, but not quite. We could also argue that this double top leads toward another profit taking. Let me mark what I mean here. Double top formation, and the market might just break again, lowering price momentum towards the 50 moving average, or even break towards even lower prices here. However, trend being positive. This is what we've seen. High point here, correction, another attempt to the upside here. Cracks, underlying cracks in the financial system might be seen here to be on the negative side of things. Yet, dollar weakness, as simple as that, if it follows in the next couple of weeks ahead, could be one of the reasons why the US dollar weakness fuels gold prices to the upside. Any profit taking medium term in the equities sector, stocks losing momentum. The Magnificent Seven might weaken somehow. Could be a reason why gold prices might continue their way to higher levels, and hence this is going to kind of look quite positive. Similarly to now to finish up our session today, so thank you guys for tuning in, with silver. The silver market has strengthened quite a bit. However, it could still be. Do we see dollar strength? Well, we might. Then silver might actually weaken again. On the monthly chart, we've seen quite some high points here. The market traded above the recent high point here. Let me just draw this trend line here. And the market broke to the upside here, but we could also see further weakness here. Again, strong support, 50 moving average. That's the weekly chart at around the 29.30 zone. That's an important area to begin with. However, next zone as well, and that's what we see in the chart here, comes at 28.15, 28 and a quarter, where if the market kind of looks to weaken somehow further, the 50 moving average, and again on the weekly chart here, might act as a support. But we could also say left shoulder, well, let me draw this in again here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. We could also see a head and shoulder pattern developing, which if the neckline is being broken, there's a zone here. It could unleash further downside momentum. Guys, we have a ton of opportunities in markets to watch out for. Trade wisely, secure your positions, obviously with a stop loss, and just don't get too much risk in markets. Quite a lot of the US dollar currency pairs are setting up. Oil prices, we talked about the gold and silver market, and I forgot to mention one thing. Bitcoin had moved higher, but not quite moving beyond the 110,000 US dollar level. Ether lagging behind. Ethereum looks to weaken potentially further on the back of the strength of Bitcoin. Bitcoin up, Ether usually lagging. We had Ripple, XRP remaining quite high. You guys know I would still, based on this strong charting rocket science movement, to see any corrective pattern for now. And Solana, if 250, 260 US dollar, this resistance area, the technical resistance area, can be broken, where we're trading at 255 currently as we speak. If Solana breaks higher, look at the weekly, the monthly chart. The market looks like there's upside momentum. So stay tuned, stay focused, and follow up here with fxstrategies.asia. Please leave your comments under the video, and just don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We see you soon.